It was one of those crisp winter mornings in downtown Chicago, when the air felt sharp enough to wake even the sleepy soul. The streets bustled with professionals in suits, college kids with backpacks, and delivery riders rushing to make their first drop-offs. The smell of roasted coffee beans floated from the corner cafe Brew and Bloom, drawing people in like a warm hug. Inside, the place was alive with the hiss of espresso machines, the clinking of mugs, and the soft hum of conversation. A chalkboard menu stretched above the counter, filled with fancy drinks and pastries whose names rolled off the tongue like poetry. Cassandra Blake stepped inside, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. She was dressed in a tailored navy coat and black leather gloves, her heels clicking on the wooden floor. On the outside, she looked every bit the confident professional, but today, she was just here for a quiet cup of coffee before her morning meeting. She slid into the line, scrolling on her phone, not really paying attention until it was her turn. "Good morning. What can I get started for you?" the barista asked with a practiced smile. "Large caramel latte, almond milk, and one of those cranberry muffins, please," Cassandra said. She reached into her purse and pulled out her credit card, tapping it on the reader. The machine beeped once, then flashed declined in glaring red letters. Her heart sank. "That's strange," she murmured, trying again. Another decline. The line behind her began to shift impatiently. Someone sighed. A young woman near the door whispered to her friend, loud enough to be heard, "Yikes. That's awkward." Cassandra forced a small, polite smile, pretending not to hear. She pulled out another card, declined again. Her cheeks burned, and then, a voice behind her. "Calm, gentle, I've got it," the man said. She turned to see a tall black man, maybe mid-30s, wearing a faded work jacket with paint stains. A knit beanie pulled low over his head. His hands were rough, like he'd been working with tools all morning. He didn't look wealthy, in fact. His shoes were scuffed. His phone screen cracked, but his eyes were kind. "Oh no, that's not necessary," Cassandra said quickly. He smiled faintly. "It's just coffee, ma'am. No big deal." Before she could argue, he stepped forward, pulled out a few crumpled bills from his wallet, and paid the barista, slid the drink and muffin across the counter. "Orders ready." Cassandra accepted them, still a little stunned. "Thank you. I don't even know your name." "Marcus," he said simply, picking up his own small black coffee. "Well, thank you, Marcus. I'll pay you back." He shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." And with that, he walked toward a corner table by the window, the morning sun casting a golden outline around him. Cassandra stood there for a moment, coffee in hand, watching him sip slowly and scroll through his phone. Something about him, the quiet way he carried himself, the ease with which he'd stepped in to help, without making a show of it, stuck with her. She didn't know it yet, but this was not the last time she'd see Marcus fade out on her gaze, following him as the city bustles outside. Cassandra couldn't shake it. She sat at her table near the counter, pretending to scroll through her phone, but her eyes kept drifting toward Marcus. He was hunched over his black coffee, occasionally glancing out the window. A construction worker walked past and gave him a nod through the glass. Marcus raised a hand in greeting, a small smile flickering across his face. He didn't look like someone who had much, no designer coat, no shiny watch, but there was a steadiness to him. Cassandra sipped her latte, mind turning over questions. Who just pays for a stranger's coffee and walks away like it's nothing? Most people, she knew, would have just watched her struggle and moved on. Marcus finished his coffee, stuffed his phone in his jacket pocket, and stood. On his way out, he passed by her table. "Enjoy your morning," he said, with a polite nod. "You too," she replied quickly, but he was already halfway to the door. Through the window, she saw him cross the street, heading toward an old pickup truck parked by the curb. The bed was loaded with buckets, paint rollers, and drop cloths. He climbed in and drove away. Cassandra sat there for another 5 minutes, tapping her nails against her cup. She could go to her meeting. She could forget this ever happened. But something in her chest told her not to. That afternoon, after wrapping up her business at a downtown office, she found herself driving toward the industrial district. She didn't even know why. Maybe curiosity, maybe something deeper. She remembered the logo on his truck, Grant & Sons Painting. She spotted the same truck parked outside an old brick building. The sound of scraping and hammering spilled from an open side door. Cassandra stepped inside. The air smelled of fresh paint and sawdust. Marcus was there, standing on a ladder, carefully painting a wall. His work clothes were splattered with white and blue. He didn't notice her at first. "Hi," she called softly. Marcus looked down, surprised. "Oh, Miss Latte," she laughed. "Cassandra. My name's Cassandra." He climbed down. "You didn't have to come all the way here. I just wanted to say thank you again. And maybe buy you a coffee this time." Marcus wiped his hands on a rag, glancing toward the half-finished wall. "Appreciate it. But I've got a lot of work today." "Then maybe I'll bring it here," she offered. He hesitated. "All right, but just coffee. No fancy muffin." She smiled. "Deal." As she left, Cassandra felt something shift. She didn't know Marcus's full story yet, but she wanted to. And for reasons she couldn't explain, she suspected his life was a lot more complicated than it seemed. Fade out with Cassandra walking back to her car, a quiet determination in her eyes. The next morning, Cassandra returned to Brew and Bloom earlier than usual. She grabbed 2 coffees, one plain black, one caramel latte, and a brown paper bag with 2 muffins, ignoring Marcus's no muffin rule. Driving to the warehouse, she rehearsed what she might say thank you again. Ask about his life. Just chat like normal people. It felt strange. She was used to boardrooms and negotiations worth millions, not awkwardly trying to befriend a stranger who had done her a simple kindness. When she pulled up, Marcus was outside, loading equipment into the truck. He spotted her immediately. "Cassandra, you're back," he said, raising an eyebrow. She held out the cup. "Told you I'd bring coffee." He accepted it with a quiet thanks and took a sip. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," she replied. They sat on a stack of paint buckets, steam rising from their cups in the cold air. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Cassandra asked, "Why'd you pay for me that day? You didn't even know me." Marcus looked down, tapping his thumb on the paper cup. "Guess I've been where you were. That feeling. When your car declines, and people start staring like they know your whole life story. It's embarrassing. Figured I could make it a little less so." His voice was calm, but something in it hinted at old wounds. Cassandra leaned forward. "What happened? If you don't mind me asking?" Marcus chuckled, though it wasn't really a laugh. "A few years ago, I lost my job. Had to work odd jobs just to keep the lights on. Sometimes, I didn't even have $5 for coffee. And you know, the people who helped me out back then, I never forgot it." Cassandra felt a knot in her chest. In her world of high finance, people rarely did anything without expecting something in return. But Marcus had no agenda. She smiled faintly. "Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad you were there that day." He shrugged. "Me too." Later, back at her office, a sleek glass building overlooking the Chicago River, Cassandra sat in her leather chair, staring at the city skyline. On her desk sat the paper coffee cup Marcus had given her, now empty. But she couldn't bring herself to throw it away. She thought about telling him who she was. Cassandra Blake, CEO of Blake Enterprises, worth hundreds of millions. But something stopped her. She didn't want him to treat her differently. For now, it was enough that he saw her as just another woman in line for coffee. That evening, she found herself Googling Grant & Sons painting. Their website was outdated, just a single page, with a phone number and a few photos of painted rooms. But one picture caught her eye. Marcus, younger, smiling with 2 boys, who looked like they could be his sons. The caption read, "Family owned, since 1998. It made her wonder, what happened to the rest of the family? And why did she have a feeling his story was far from ordinary? Fade out with Cassandra closing her laptop, her curiosity now a quiet obsession. 2 days later, Cassandra pulled up to the same warehouse again, but this time, Marcus wasn't outside. The big sliding door was halfway open, and the sound of faint voices drifted out. She stepped inside quietly. Marcus was talking to an older man, maybe in his late 60s, with graying hair and paint-stained overalls. The man's voice was low, but edged with worry. "We're 3 weeks behind, Marcus," he said. "If we don't get the Miller project done, they'll pull the contract." "I know, Dad," Marcus replied, running a hand over his face. "I've been working double shifts, but we don't have enough crew, and I can't afford." His eyes flicked up, spotting Cassandra. "Oh hey." Cassandra froze for a moment, realizing she had just walked into something private. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt." Marcus shook his head. "It's fine. Cassandra, this is my father, Robert Grant." Robert gave her a polite nod but didn't smile. "Nice to meet you." After Robert left, Marcus leaned against a paint-splattered table. "So, what brings you here today?" Cassandra hesitated. "I wanted to see how you were doing, and maybe offer some help." Marcus frowned slightly. "Help? You mean like money?" She shook her head quickly. No, not unless you wanted it. I just know people. Connections. Sometimes that's worth more than a check. He studied her for a moment. You talk like someone who's not just buying coffee in the mornings. Cassandra gave a small smile. Maybe I'm not. They walked to the far side of the warehouse, where stacks of unfinished wooden panels leaned against the wall. Marcus told her about his family, how his father had started the business, how his mother passed away 5 years ago, and how his younger brother had moved away after an argument. Dad's health isn't what it used to be, Marcus said, his voice quieter now. He still works because he hates sitting at home, but most of the heavy lifting falls on me. And, well, there's only so much one person can do. Cassandra felt the pieces clicking into place. This wasn't just about painting walls. It was about holding together the remnants of a family. She looked at him, wanting to say I could change everything for you in a day. But she bit her tongue. He didn't need a savior. He needed someone to believe in him. Before she left, Marcus walked her to her car. You know, he said, you don't have to keep coming around. I mean, I appreciate it, but I'm just a guy trying to keep a small business alive. She smiled softly. Maybe I like rooting for the underdog. As she drove away, Cassandra knew this wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was personal. Fade out on Marcus, watching her car disappear down the street, a conflicted look on his face. The first snow of the season dusted the streets of Chicago, turning the city into a postcard. Cassandra sat in the corner of Brew and Bloom, sipping her coffee, when she spotted Marcus through the window. But something was different. He was walking, fast, shoulders tense, a man clearly not just out for a morning cup. He didn't see her as he passed, so she tossed her scarf around her neck and hurried outside. Marcus, she called. He turned, his breath visible in the cold air. Cassandra, I didn't expect to see you. What's wrong? She asked. He hesitated, then sighed. We just lost the Miller project. The client said we're too far behind schedule. That was supposed to cover most of our winter expenses. Her heart tightened. What does that mean for the business? It means, he said quietly, if I don't find another big contract in the next 2 weeks, we might have to shut down. Dad doesn't know yet. I can't bring myself to tell him. Cassandra stared at him, torn between revealing who she was and keeping her cover. She could fix this instantly with one phone call, but something told her Marcus might refuse the help if it came from a wealthy stranger swooping in to save him. Instead, she asked, if you could get any job right now, what would it be? He blinked at her. Honestly, painting the new wing at the Fairmont Hotel. Huge project. Big money. But they'd never hire us. They're all about reputation. Big firms. Polished portfolios. Cassandra's mind was already racing. She knew the Fairmont's owner personally, had sat next to him at charity galas. And she knew something Marcus didn't. A small, personal touch sometimes beat a flashy firm. Later that afternoon, Cassandra sat in her office, staring at her phone. One call to Jonathan Reed, the hotel owner, could get Marcus a meeting. But if she set it up, she'd have to explain why she cared so much about a small painting business owned by a man she barely knew. Finally, she picked up the phone. Jonathan, she said when he answered, her tone casual. I have a recommendation for you. A local painter. Trust me, he's worth your time. Jonathan chuckled. For you, Cass. I'll hear him out. The next morning, Marcus got a call from the Fairmont Hotel offering him an interview for the project. He was stunned. I don't get it, he told Cassandra later that day. Stuff like this doesn't just happen. Somebody had to put in a good word. Cassandra shrugged with a playful smile. Maybe the universe is looking out for you. Marcus laughed softly, shaking his head. If that's true, I owe the universe a lot of coffee. But as she walked away, she knew the truth. The universe had just set the stage for something much bigger. Fade out on Marcus holding the phone, a rare flicker of hope in his eyes. The Fairmont job turned out to be the biggest Marcus had ever landed. Within a week, he and his small crew were working in the grand high-ceilinged corridors, their ladders stretching toward chandeliers, worth more than his truck. One evening, after most of the crew had gone home, Marcus stayed behind to finish detailing a section of molding. Cassandra arrived quietly, watching him from the end of the hall. You're going to wear yourself out, she said with a smile. Marcus grinned, faintly. When you get a break like this, you don't waste it. He stepped down from the ladder. You know, I still can't figure out how he got this job. Cassandra took a deep breath. Marcus, there's something I need to tell you. They walked into the empty ballroom, the light from the city skyline spilling across the polished floors. I wasn't completely honest with you, Cassandra began. I'm not just some woman who hangs out in coffee shops. I own a company. A big one. I'm the CEO of Caldwell Enterprises. Marcus blinked, clearly stunned. Wait, you're the Caldwell, as in the commercials on TV, the skyscraper downtown. She nodded slowly. I've been in your shop before. I saw the way you treated people, how you stepped in to help when my card was declined. You didn't know me. You didn't ask for anything in return. And I never forgot that. He stared at her for a long moment, processing. So, the Fairmont call. That was you. Yes, she admitted. I wanted to give you a chance, but I also wanted to see what you'd do with it. And you've done more than I imagined. Marcus rubbed the back of his neck, a mix of gratitude and discomfort in his expression. Cassandra, I appreciate it, I really do. But, why me? She smiled softly. Because sometimes, the right investment isn't about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about character. And you have more of that than most CEOs I know, myself included. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Marcus let out a quiet laugh. Well, I guess I owe the universe even more coffee than I thought. She laughed too, the tension breaking. Or maybe just one. With me, no business talk, just to people who like good coffee. Marcus smiled, a real one this time. Deal.